So as we continue this month of April, doing autism awareness, once again, there are other things in April, and we'll try to get to some of those. But today, we still want to talk about just autism awareness. And the goal is not to just talk about it, but the goal is to inform, make people understand like where that comes from or how it feels. And so today, I have this phenomenal brother with me. Phenomenal, Mr. Lee. So Mr. Lee teaches technology, dual credit classes. He helps with a lot of the technology going on. He's one of those guys that work behind the scenes. And so today we have pulled him in front of the scenes. So I don't know how he will react being in front of the scenes, but we're so excited. So I'm gonna let him say a few words and then we'll get into some questions and talking.
Well, thank you for having me here. First time in this space. It feels good.
That's because you're always in the background.
Yeah, but it feels good. I know we're talking about autism awareness, and you and I share a lot of moments of talking about it with Jeremiah and Robert Jr. So it's special when you're able to have that conversation with somebody that really understands the struggle. You know, it's a lifestyle change. It's its own vibe in itself, dealing with young people that have autism. So it's interesting to say the least, and it definitely changes you as a person for the better.
Yeah, and so what I would say, thank you on that. I would say that, and you might not know this, but I look at you so much as a mentor for me understanding. And so there's times I'll say things to Lee like, "Hey, Jeremiah just did," and he was like, "Okay." So then when Robert was a baby, because Jeremiah is 10 and Robert is
21.
21, and so let's talk about when did you find out he was diagnosed or considered autistic?
So Robert was born in 2002, and in 2004, he wasn't talking a lot. So we thought it was actually something wrong with his hearing. So we took him to Rush to get some hearing tests, and the doctor said, we don't, he hears just fine. He's just ignoring you. Yeah. So, but the doctor did voice some concerns. So I want to have him take this series of tests because we think he might be on the spectrum. And at the time, me and my wife, we didn't know what that meant. We had no idea about autism or anything. So we went to see a specialist downtown at Rush. They ran a whole lot of tests, and then the doctor came in and literally just changed our world for the rest of our lives. So saying that he is on the spectrum, this is the diagnosis, this is what we think, things of that sort. So it went from just thinking maybe he had a hearing problem to knowing that now he has a situation he's got to deal with for the rest of his life. So we had to figure out how to make, how could I say it, how to join his world instead of pulling him into ours, because he needs a little bit more attention than the average
I think
child.
For me, when I got Jeremiah, the first thing I thought was, wait a minute. And I said this in a previous podcast. I first thought about, okay, how, because people go with the normal. What's normal? What's normal? And I remember a shirt I saw that said, why be normal, right? And so I then started embracing, but this didn't happen overnight. But I started embracing the characteristics or the things that he liked to do, which was a whole nother level. But I think my first big struggle or hurdle was, so from a grandfather standpoint, it wasn't like I felt like, man, what did we do, with the pregnancy, or was one of us not healthy? From a grandfather standpoint, I was like one of my biggest hurdles was worrying about what other people thought. So what would be your hurdle that you would say was like, yeah, that was a hurdle for me too? Or
I think for me, it was, I wouldn't say that. It was just getting used to not caring what other people thought. Yeah. I think a lot of times we focus on things that don't matter. And at the end of the day, that's my son.
Right.
So I don't care what other people think, but I had to learn it. I had to get to that point of not being conscious of other people. It's not about other people. It's about how comfortable I make my son feel, and how comfortable I make his world and his living, his everything. So once I really, got to that point, and my wife said something to me way back. It was something I was upset about him
Wait,
that
we
he
love
did
your wife.
wrong.
Just wanted to put that out there. Hey, Trace.
She said something to me at one point. We were arguing about something. I was upset that he did, and she said something that stuck with me the rest of my life. And she said, "If I don't fight for him, who will?"
Who will? That's powerful.
And it humbled me. I mean,
Yeah.
it made me just say I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, and it's hard for us to say we're wrong.
Absolutely.
But that was a situation where I was definitely wrong, and I just had to start being a better father in that sense, and realizing that his road is going to be different than that of my daughter's.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be with us for the rest of his like rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So we have to make everything. We have to just build our lives around him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been a struggle sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, but it's been well worth it. I mean, we found a support system. We got him into a school that could really focus on it. At the time, CPS they couldn't provide him what he needed,
Right.
so we had to go outside of CPS to really get him the supports that he needed. And I mean, you know, we build, we get better
Yeah.
every day, and you know, he's not perfect, but he's happy.
What kid is though? Let's talk about that. What kid is?
Yeah.
Hey, but when you talk about supports for people who are out there that are like, wow, what supports are available? Like, what type of supports helped you through some of this?
Well, I think, and I'll tell you an interesting story. My son was at a school. I'm not gonna name it, but
won't name
at a
that school.
CPS school, and they wanted to suspend him,
Okay.
saying that he bit the security guard.
Uh huh.
And my son's not a biter, so he actually he does this to relieve the pressure when he's stressed. So we get to this meeting, and there's all these people there, and I'm just like, whoa, like
Yeah. First of all, that was intimidating. I'm sure.
like he was a criminal.
Yeah.
So the one thing we did do before that, we spoke to, because we had been trying to get him in this school, and the principal at that school, she said, "Would you mind if I come to the meeting?"
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, sure. So she came to the meeting. She sat there, you know, as our guest. We're going through this, and my wife is going through the roof, and we're frustrated because we know in the report it said that they explained the situation to my son and he understood it. I'm like, you didn't explain it.
Right.
He doesn't understand what you're
Yeah.
talking about. So it's frustrating. So from that moment, we had a follow-up meeting with that new principal, and she literally was like, this is what I need you to do to get him in this school.
Okay.
And that changed our entire trajectory, because it went from having a situation, and at that time, I mean, it was new.
Yeah.
You know, not a lot of schools have the support, have the resources.
And not a lot of people understand it or understood it back then.
Yeah, so when they got, she let us know what we need to do. We got him there, and I'm gonna be honest, we haven't looked back. He still goes to that school to this day. He'll age out at 22, but they've given us so many supports
Yeah.
that it saved us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you think about it, because we didn't know, and we are educated as he's being
Yeah.
educated, so we're learning too, and then we're able to give back to families and people that are going through it too, because we've experienced that. Because you didn't hear a lot about
You
autism.
didn't, especially like in the black community.
Yeah.
I mean, we just did not. I think sometimes even in the church, we just like, oh, we just need to pray because something's going on. And those type of things, I think, help to make us not feel comfortable in what was going on, or to be comfortable to bring them around people. So that's because you didn't know how other people respond, right?
And a lot of it is we're masking the situation instead of advocating and fixing it.
Yeah.
Working on solutions. So a lot of times, especially in the black community, we're told to put things under the rug and just assume they're going to work themselves out,
yeah.
pray, whatever the case. But I think at the same time, you have to advocate. And especially when you have a child with special needs, you have to advocate for them like nobody else. Like,
And you know what? When you say that, I think about when we talk about advocating for them. I think about like some of the things that you see now on that people are offering. It's still not enough, but the fact that we're like moving. Like I know some of the movie theaters, they have certain days that are for autism and special needs, so they don't turn the lights all the way down. They don't have the base, in it as much, and the kids get to walk around, right? So I think that's, I know they have like bowling some nights of that. So I think those are things that are going toward it, but I think also we have to figure out how do we still include others so people can be acceptance of it. So like, it's great that, we can take them to the show during autism time. But then does that mean parents are like, no, you can't go because that's autism and you don't have autism. So we have to do a better job of just helping others to understand. But I would say having Jeremiah has changed my outlook on not even just other children, but has helped to shape my outlook on adults, on being more compassionate and helping. And like it's not a rush, like sometimes we get in a rush that we could forget something. And so it's helped me in that instance too.
I think as a high school educator and just being in Chicago public schools, see a lot of kids go through a lot of things. And one of the joys that I take having a child with autism is their world is so bright a lot of times.
Yeah.
And you see our kids, especially our high school students, they go through so many stress situations and trials and tribulations. And it's like, I got this kid at home, man. And look, if he gets the right DVD in the mail, he won the lottery.
His world is like,
so
yes.
it's like, yeah, it's the little things that he's appreciative of. And you kind of wish that all kids got a chance to really experience just pure joy.
Yeah.
Our kids are brought up, especially in Chicago, on survival mode. When do they actually get to live? When do they get to experience life? Yeah. And I think somehow we need to get that for our kids, but bring it all together. Like our kids with autism are just the same. They just look at life a little bit differently.
And that's really what I always say to people, like, because I think that's the same with all of our kids, right? That if we could figure out what's going on in their world, then we can just learn from their world and create it. Because when I think about things that have been created in this world, that you're like, who would have thought that would be a a screwdriver or da da da, things that people just came up with. If we can harness the creativity that's in every child, they could create some things that we would be like, whoa, I never even looked at it that way. I'm sure sometimes you look at Robbie, you like, wait, what you just unscrewed this and put this over here, right? Because then you're like, but that's part of him, like, and you have to watch it because you're like, we might need to patent this and and go from there on it.
Yeah, he's a special kid, and what I love about him is he'll figure it out.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of what he gets from me. We just figure things out. We make it happen. Because
y'all don't mind tearing it up either.
Yeah, I love that's the fun part of life is tearing things up and rebuilding,
just figuring it out.
But yeah, he's
and that's
definitely
a skill that everybody doesn't have. What would you say, since Robert is now 21? What is your biggest or most proud moment that always sticks with you about like your relationship or something with Robert?
I would say it's just so many. His tenacity. He's one of those people that just he won't give up. And he's so organized. Even it makes me want to be more organized. So,
he has to have everything in his place
at a certain time.
Yeah,
he wants to go for a ride.
I was going to bring that up.
Yes,
because there's a route though that you have to talk about that. That's the route you have to take and everything, right?
Yeah, every day he wants to go on a ride, and we have to take this long, drawn out route. But he needs to see some of his points of interest. The dentist, he loves the dentist, so he's got to see the dentist. Got to see the doctor.
But do you have to go in, or you just have to drive by?
No, he just wants to drive by
to make sure the building is still there.
I guess so. So we just go on this long ride, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I've gotten so used to it now. And it's like, okay. Now some days I don't want to go, and he's not a happy camper, but I try to go and get him out there and just to see things. Like he's searching for stuff on the internet and always finding something, and he got to go see it, and I'm just like.
Yeah, that's Jeremiah.
But it's a lot of things that I would say make me proud of him because he does some amazingly strange things.
Yeah.
But they always have a purpose. So
and those amazingly strange things, I'm willing to bet that sometimes you go, Oh, that's what I would have done. Well, that's what I do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed. So he's so organized, I think, and just dedicated to what he wants
Mm-hmm.
out of life. It's ridiculous. I mean, he takes a shower same time every day. And he's just got all these things. He got 3 iPads, 2 phones going, and it's just like how can you maneuver all of this stuff at the same
Yeah.
time? So, but the greatest joy I would say is that he's happy with who he is.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's hard for a lot of kids because they have so much self
That's
doubt.
hard for adults.
Oh,
Sometimes
it's
we so angry
impossible for most adults.
with
Yeah.
things that happen in our life that we mean to other people instead of being nice. And so that's one of the things that even when I think of Robert, think about Jeremiah, that how they they're in their own worlds, but they're just happy and they're not their happiness is not contingent on whether this person is nice to them or what is they go into their world and they're just happy. I mean, I think once people start realizing how happy they are and we can pick up some of that happiness, it would
Yeah.
transform all of us, even as adults.
Yeah. I think when you talk about children with autism too, the one thing they do well is recognize love.
Hmm.
If they know you love them and they love you, they're like your little broke best friends.
Yeah, you
They
you
just
can't be phony
yeah,
with them.
yeah. They know when you're not having a good day, then they're looking and they're trying to do something to make you have a better day. So it just makes it's
What's
a
some of the
whole
things
adventure.
Robert do that when you not having a good day?
When I'm not having a good day, he'll stand there and bring something to me that he thinks that I
Uh
like,
huh.
or he'll want to go for a ride. He want to switch up the scenario.
Right.
So and he'll just stand there sometime, and I'm just like, dude, I'm having a rough day. Just but then he'll nudge me enough that I say okay,
Yeah.
or he'll bring me a joystick. He loves playing Mario Kart, and he cheats, but
You can't say your child cheats.
he does. He makes me play with the worst characters, and then he just whoop me all over the racetrack. So, and I'm mad because I can't play with the good characters to
Right,
compete.
because he
So,
wants to.
yeah, but he will not lose. He's better than me, but
Yeah. One of the things that Jeremiah does is Jeremiah's always like, give me a hug. Come on, give me a hug. And I'll be like, all right. And then he'll hold me until I guess he feels like whatever was bothering me is gone. Or he'll be like, hey, fist bump, fist bump. Come on, fist bump. And I'll be like, okay. And then if I still don't change, he makes me keep doing the fist bump.
hmm
And I'm like, okay, I'm bad, I'm good. And then he's like, all right, let's go. That type of thing. Lee, this has been amazing. But
thank you.
I want to leave with us anybody who's listening that just maybe found out their child is autistic or maybe living with a child that's autistic, what some parting words would you leave with the parent or people who may know someone?
I would say the first thing I would say, most importantly, is it's going to be okay. Secondly, advocate for your child. Find the resources. Everything isn't right for your child as far as
Mm-hmm.
the resources that are currently available. And sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone to find those resources that's going to put your child in the best position to be happy and to prosper. It's okay. And you make those difficult choices. And you have to make that life choice of knowing that you have to make sure your child, it's your child, no matter what. Make sure your child is comfortable, happy, and in a situation where they're not the oddity. They're
Yeah.
they're they're in with what's normal to them, and you just keep building on that. The things that make them happy, you run for them. You knock a wall down. You kick a door in to get those things for that child to make them happy, and then you just you maneuver through it. It's not gonna be great every day, but it'll get better. And you definitely have to find that space and figure out how can I best help my child at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day. I think that's the most important piece of it. Like, what do I need to do to put my child in a situation where they could be as successful as possible?
And as I thank you, because as I was listening to you, I was thinking the advocacy part. Sometimes we advocate incorrectly, right? Because we feel like, no, you don't get it, But sometimes they may not get it, but I think it's in how you advocate first of all. So it's important to do it the right way. The second thing is that popped out from what you said was also make sure that you're willing to give as much as you can of your life for your child. Because sometimes I've seen where people are like, I got to have my own life too, that type of thing. But make sure you're willing to sacrifice as much as you can to get them. And I, if I can go spiritual for a second, I would say God doesn't make mistakes. And so he knew that you could handle that versus somebody else. And that's what I say about like with Jeremiah. God knew that I could handle Jeremiah or that I needed him in my life that somebody else wouldn't have been able to do in his life. And so always look back and step and say, if you said I can do it, then provide, and he will provide. But I think we just have to start thinking, sometimes we think, why me? No, but I think that all of those are for a reason because we can handle it.
And you have to let your family be
Your support. Yeah.
your support system. My daughters, they know my wife, mother-in-law, whoever. It's days where Robert not going to school and we are at work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. All right, who's up next?
Right.
And who's got this and who's got that. So it does take that village in that situation. And when they know you genuinely care and they care, they're gonna make sure they offer whatever support they can.
Yeah.
So it's important.
So thank you so much, Mr. Lee. This
you.
is our next this is our not final, I don't think. I think we got one more episode on autism, but please, if you have any questions or anything we can do, we invite you to reach out. cps.edu. You can go to our website, Michelle Clark. You can follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on Twitter. It's not Twitter now, X. And then you can follow us also on Instagram. Did I leave one out? Because I feel like I did.
No, I think you got them all.
Okay. But feel free if anything we can do to reach out to us. And especially if you think of some resources that Mr. Lee might already have, we're willing to share those with you. This is Principal Anderson sitting with the great, great Mr. Lee saying thank you so much.
Thank you.